Good afternoon once again to our European partners. Thanks for joining us. This is National Flooring Equipment's dedicated European Partnership Shot Blaster session. So during our session today, please enter any questions that you might have in the chat portion. You'll see that on your screen that you're viewing is just to the right, I believe. In the chat are Twan Vandenhovel, he's our VP of Europe, Nick White, who is Country Manager of UK and Ireland, as well as Global Sales Director Highways. And we also had Claude Beeson's online as well. He's our European Business Development Manager. So they're available to answer any questions that you might have throughout the session. My name is Jake Sinna. I'm Vice President of Sales based out of Denver, Colorado. And with us to run the session today is Dave Bigham. He is our Director of Global Training, and Dave has roughly 30 to 40 years shot blaster experience. So very exciting session. We also have a new product that Dave is going to show you. It's called the A98. Very excited about it. With that, turn it over to Dave. Take it away, sir. Let's have a great session.
Thank you, Jake Sinna. Hello from across the water. I'm super excited to be here presenting to you guys, talking about National Flooring Equipment's Apex series of shot blasters. For you guys that don't know me, I've always had a huge love for shot blasting and what it can do for contractors. A little bit about myself, like Jake said, I actually have about 25 years experience in this industry. Most of that's directed at shot blasting. That's where most of my experience comes from. I also love fast cars. That's the second right under shot blasting. So if you guys want to talk American muscle, or even if you want to talk about European sports cars, I've been known to own some Austin Healey's, some Triumphs, and even some Jaguars. So I have a lot of love for some of the stuff that you guys do here in America. We're going to start and we're going to discuss the A95, which is it's a small shot blaster. It's available in UK power, 110. You can get it in 230. This machine is a small and portable unit, which is great for smaller jobs, for contractors that are just getting into the market. It's a great tool as a first purchase. We also tend to refer to this machine as a companion machine. So if I was a contractor, maybe a little bit on the larger side, if I had bought this early on, I'd still be using it, because if I move up into some of these larger machines, this still has the ability to get into small rooms, small kitchens, bathrooms, narrow hallways. That's why we tend to refer to the A95 as a companion machine or a starter machine for guys that are doing smaller jobs that are just getting into the industry. So it's a great investment. You'll always get a return on your investment with this machine, even as you grow as a contractor, because you can companion it with the larger machines. So how a shot blaster works, you guys, is basically as a centrifugal wheel. We tend to call it like a boat prop. It spins when you initiate the motor. And when I squeeze the two handles together or open the shot valve with a handle, it opens a one-barrel carburetor, kind of like an old car. And that one-barrel carburetor is actually called a shot valve. As we open that, it allows shot to spill down the feed spout into the blast wheel. The impellers throw it out a control cage onto the blades, and that centrifugal wheel propels the media onto the ground. It impacts the surface, and it rebounds back up the rebound chamber, the plenum, and it falls through an air wash separator. And when it gets to the air wash separator, what it allows is the shot basically cascades like a waterfall back down into the hopper, and the dust has an opportunity to be removed away from the shot into your dust collection system, because it's the dust that does really the damage to your blast wheels and your liners, which are your wear parts for this machine, and your shot would be considered your consumable. I actually have performance charts available for most of the machines, maybe not some of the larger end machines. If you guys want to know how long your blast wheel and your liners are going to last, depending on what you're taking up, if you reach out to us, we can email those to you, so you can get a good rule of thumb of how long your shot's going to last, how long your blast wheel's going to last, what kind of production you should expect, what kind of wear part maintenance costs you should expect. And let me remind you guys, It's great to connect, even if it's virtually. If you guys have any questions, even if you're getting ahead of me, I encourage you guys to chat those questions. So while we have this time together, I can respond to your specific questions, even if you're getting ahead of me on a machine that we haven't talked about, or maybe a topic that I haven't covered, talking about shot blasters. And let me emphasize one more time, the world seems to love grinders, and that's great. Grinders certainly have a place. But what I find, and I've always found to be true, is because shot blasters actually profile and clean in one step, once I've blasted a surface, and I'd have to run my sweeper magnet to pick up any shot that might have been left over, it's actually opens up the porosity of the concrete. And because of the impacts per square inch, you get the best possible profile for a mechanical bond that you're looking for. So I don't have to vacuum, I don't have to auto scrub and wait for that moisture to dry up out of the surface. Basically, I can blast and go ahead and put down whatever it is I'm going to put down with the best possible profile that you could get. So to me, that's a huge bonus to shot blasting over a lot of the other prep methods that's out there. Now remember, that doesn't mean there's not a place for scraping, grinding, scarification, milling. But if you're just looking for a profile and you've just got concrete or coating you're going to remove, a shot blaster a lot of times is the best answer in my opinion. That's why I'm so excited about them. Even after all these years, I see it as a great solution for guys that are trying to speed up their job, lower the cost of their job for prepping per square foot. So let's talk a little bit more about the A95. Specifically, it's a manual push machine, so you just push it along. So your profile is going to depend basically on two things: how much shot you're feeding to the wheel, and mostly the speed that you're pushing the machine. If I go really, really slow, I could probably dig a trench into the concrete. It's not what it's designed for, but it's possible. If I go really, really fast, I'm probably not doing very much to the surface. Really, the goal of shot blasting or any surface prep is to remove the curing compounds, the sealers, or what we call latents, which is the top softest layer of the concrete. We want to remove that and open up the porosity of the concrete so the coating or the glue or whatever that you're putting on that surface will bond well and not fail. So I talked a little bit about kind of how the shot flows through the machine and how it works. It does have an emergency stop. And one thing I like about this machine is right now when you lift this little handle, it releases a micro switch that allows the blast wheel to start. But what it also does is when I walk away from the machine and let go of it, the blast wheel stops spinning. There's a lot of machines on the market historically, they just have an on switch. So that little shot valve, when you're blasting, you could pick up, especially out of the joints that you can't see, you might pick up a nail, a cotter pin, a screw, a piece of wire, and it can get caught in that shot valve and allow shot to just barely leak through. And as an operator, you won't realize that's happening. You'll walk away from the machine, come back, and there's a huge hole in the concrete surface that has to be repaired. With this machine, it's basically designed so that can't happen. As I walk away from the machine and let go of the handles, the blast wheel motion ceases. So the only way to dig a big hole in the concrete is to squeeze the handles and not move. And that's basically operator error. That certainly isn't poor machine design. So that's one thing that I really like. Another thing I like about this machine is it's really lightweight. A couple guys could easily pick it up and put it into a van. I can ramp it up into the back of a truck by myself. The pairing dust collector, about a 200 CFM DL2000, that's a great vac. It's also very lightweight. So really you have a small, inexpensive package that allows you to actually get done quite a bit of square footage. This machine, I can blast about 400 square feet an hour at the max. That's pretty amazing. Most guys are probably averaging about 250 to 300 because you actually want to profile it. But in some of the softer concrete situations, I could certainly knock out 400 square feet an hour in certain situations. I'm going to do a quick demo, but before I do the demo, I want to point out that another new feature is the pins in the handle for your height adjustment. That's great because I see a lot of guys lifting from this handle, and instead of having knobs just to tighten it, the pin's actually hold it into place, which is a lot safer. That's a big bonus for me. I really like it. So when I'm gonna squeeze the handle, it's gonna start the blast motor. I'm gonna make a little bit of noise. I'm also gonna turn on our dust collector. I'm gonna make a quick pass that hopefully you guys can see the profile. I made a little test pass yesterday for presentation. I'm gonna do a pass right next to that, and all the little pieces of paper on the floor is the confetti from our super exciting product launches of such things as Guillotine Blades and the Viking. So let me turn on the vacuum, and I'm gonna run this machine real quick for you guys. Let me touch base on one other quick topic that makes me love shot blasters and should make you love shot blasters too. I'm not sure how well you guys can see this in the camera. When you grind a floor, it packs dust into the joints and to the low spots. That requires a lot more cleaning, or usually requires some kind of joint saw or diamond blade to cut it out. Now you're talking about more equipment, diamond tooling, more labor. Your cost is just going up. If you guys can see that shot blaster just clean that joint out, it's beautiful. So my coating is gonna fall into that joint, and there's not gonna be any contaminants that's gonna roll out into my coatings, and it's gonna bond not only to the surface, but into that joint. If I grind it over that, it'd just be packed full of dust, and I'd have to use some other mechanical prep method to clean those joints out. So for me, you know, if I was Dave's shot blasting or prep service, it's one more reason why I absolutely love shot blasters. Hope you guys can see that on the camera. I know that it's kind of hard to see, but if you could see the joint on each side, it's just packed full of glue and dirt and who knows what else. The blaster just removed all of that. So that was our A95. We're gonna step up to a little bit larger machine. We're gonna talk a little bit about the A96. So this machine actually has a bigger motor. So that means they both have 8-inch blast patterns. But because this has a larger motor, that's gonna allow for greater production. I could do almost 900 square feet an hour production with the A96. That's more than double the A95 and the Apex series shot blasters. It's quite the step up. And I'm gonna try to focus, there's a lot of features on all of these blasters, but I really wanna focus on two of the biggest changes that I've seen from our NFE engineering department. These guys that are behind the scenes that you guys never see, they're absolutely brilliant. And they have listened to the voice of the customer, and they have incorporated changes and upgrades to this machine and some of our other machines that you guys really can see benefit from. A lot of the other machines on the market I've seen, they haven't changed anything in 20 years. They just want to sell you the same tired old product. Well, National's engineering department's much more in tune to the needs of the customer, the changing needs of the customer. And one of the biggest is this new ergonomic control system on the front. And what happens is, as I turn, I'm gonna try to stay out of the way of the shot. As I turn, with the old machines, you had to kind of stay behind it like this. Well, now, this turns with me, so it's a lot easier for your ergonomics. So those are fancy words. What does that really mean? Typically when you're shot blasting, you start close to the dust collector, and depending on the length of your hose, 40, 50 feet. I'm gonna go 20 feet, 20 feet, 20 feet. That makes lots of U-turns, lots of turning around to make your overlap. This actually makes that much quicker and more efficient. So your production goes up considerably because this is so much easier to run. With that being said, this has a trigger which starts the machine moving. So when I pull the trigger, it starts moving with my finger. And then I have two buttons. One of them is my reverse button. The other is my overdrive. That overdrive button actually bypasses the pot switch. So right now I'm on about 2. So I'm not moving real fast because I've got limited space. But when I get ready to turn around, I can hit my overdrive button and not have to touch my cruise control for the pattern that I really, so I'm getting the cleanliness profile that I really like. So I don't really want to touch that. So I could bypass that. I can turn around really quickly, let go of the overdrive button to make my next pass, and it's going to be consistent every single time. Also, like I said, your speed control, your pot switch, is also located right here, that you can reach it really easily without having to come up to the panel. That leaves this hand, whether you're right or left-handed, available so you can open and close the shot valve. That's a pretty awesome feature. And it's not just a feature, it's a design. This handle assembly can be adjusted down or up. Your handle height can come up or down. And I still have the ability, if I hit a high spot on the floor and I kind of hang up, which happens like at joints, I can still push down, no problem, clear that and keep going. I'm gonna turn this just a little bit. Think you can see that, Nick?
In the comment section, they're asking about
Comments?
shot blasters. Why aren't they the best at removing warning lines or
Safety lines?
safety lines, street paint? Can you talk about how to clean a hard surface in order for the shot blaster to be effective?
Sure. So the question is, I think, why is a shot blaster great for some things and why is it not great for other things? So that's perfect. So when I said I don't dislike other prep methods, there are some things a shot blaster won't do. It won't take up soft, thick glue because a shot blaster works off of 2 principles, which is rebound and vacuum. If you take away one of those principles, it won't work, kind of like a car works off of fuel, air, fire. If you take away one of those, your car won't run. The shot blaster's the same way. So really thick, soft glue, the shot's propelled onto the surface, it hits that soft glue, it loses its kinetic energy and just kind of lays on the floor. There's other applications like parking deck structure overlayments that are soft. Elastomeric coatings, usually a blaster doesn't work very well on. You need to scrape those, and then you can come back and blast the residue, or you can scrape the glue and then come back and blast it. There are some thermoplastic lines that are thick and too soft that the blaster may damage the substrate on either side of it. With the smaller machines, we offer blast reduction liners, so you could make the machine blast 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, or it's standard 8 inches. So that's a great question. This question is exactly why contractors have lots of equipment. Same reason why a mechanic, if he goes to his toolbox, he has lots of tools. He doesn't need all of those tools for every job, but he needs those over the course of his mechanic career. Shot blasters work great in lots and lots of applications. Sometimes you need a scarifier. Sometimes you need a scraper first. Sometimes a grinder with certain tooling is a better option. But we're just talking about general surface prep. This concrete floor has tons of sealers and curing compounds, and it's got real rough joints in this building in our training center here in Denver, Colorado. I would much rather blast this with a large blaster and be done in a couple hours rather than spend an extended amount of time with a grinder and then trying to clean up the dust. But that's just me, and that's just this application. Great question. Keep the questions coming. So we were talking about, I was going to show you guys another feature that I really like. Think you can see that, Nick, or do I need to turn around more? More? All right. Sorry, we got limited space, so in the past, my phone's rang about 473 trillion times. My shot blaster's pulling too many amps and it's tripping the breaker. or I've got the valve open all the way and it's barely blasting. That is typically a result of how the shot valve is set up. The more the shot valve opens, the more shot that's fed through, the more amps your machine pulls. So here we have this set up on 230 volt single phase, and I want it to pull less than 30 amps because I have a 30 amp breaker in the wall. That's pretty common here. So for years, to make that adjustment, you either had to take this handle assembly apart with the little ears and line everything up, and there's a lot of trial and error, and it was somewhat complicated. Actually, it's really complicated. Or you had to make an adjustment down to the shot valve, which required lots of specialty kind of tools, or at least a handful of tools, and it took a lot of trial and error as well. So once again, I'm going back to National's engineering department that I so respect. They have designed a 1-bolt limiting system for the shot valve. If I turn this screw in, it actually limits the valve from opening. So if I was blasting 35 amps, I could turn that screw in just a little bit, just with any wrench or pair of pliers if I needed to, and it would allow the valve to open less because it limits it amount that it's opening. If I was only blasting 10 amps, I'm not getting the production that I really should out of this machine. I can back that bolt out and allow the valve to open more. So all of that really difficult shot blasting adjustments for your amp draw has been minimized and simplified by 1 bolt. That's fantastic. I love it. It makes me so happy. And as an operator, and if you guys are looking at a National machine, it should key to you that we've simplified a lot of the adjustments. So to make operation of this on a job, it limits your tools, your downtime, and things will, there's some outside factors and some inside factors that can determine the amount of amps that you're drawing. For one, your size of shot. If you're using a real small shot, it's going to feed through. It's much finer, it's tighter, so you're going to pull more amps. If you're using larger shot, less of it can come through the valve, so you're going to pull less amps. So I can adjust between smaller shot, larger shot, and my amp with that 1 bolt. It's pretty cool. Makes me happy. All right, so if I can get it to turn around without running over my cord. I gotta get over my cord, sorry guys. This has a blast wheel start and stop. It's soft start. It also has an hour meter so I can keep track of my hours on the machine so I know when to inspect my blast wheel and my liners for maintenance. It has a cord management system that's built into the machine. And I think that what we should do now is turn the machine on. I'm going to give you guys a quick demonstration. Since you've seen the A95 work, let's turn on the A96 and see what it'll do in comparison. So I'm going to make a little bit of noise, but we're going to turn this machine on. I'm going to start up the blast wheel, and because it's soft start, it's going to start real slow and amp up. That's to keep from tripping the breaker by too much surge of power all at once. So here it goes. You can hear it, now it's full speed. I'm going to pull the trigger and get the machine moving, and once it's moving, I'm going to open the shot valve. I'm going to try to put a nice heavy profile so you guys can visually see what it's doing to the surface. I could go faster and do less of a profile, but I certainly want you guys to be able to see what it's doing. Let me get my magnet, step out of the frame for a second so you guys can see what's going on. So you guys can see it left a really nice consistent profile. I can adjust my speed. If I go faster, I'm going to do less. If I speed it up, I'm going to leave less of a profile. But you guys can see how efficient that is. Once I've run my magnet, I'm basically ready to put whatever it is that I'm putting down on my surface next. So that was the A96. I still encourage you guys to chat in questions so I can answer them. And thanks again for tuning in. Now I'm going to try to contain myself. I'm going to get super excited. This is National Flooring Equipment's A98. We've been working on this for quite a while, and I'm super excited about it. I've run it in both Europe and in America. For Europe, I think it's 400 volt. This one I have set up for 480 volt. I'm probably not going to run it because my space really is pretty limited in here, you guys. But I'm going to talk about some of the features of this machine. And trust me, you guys, when I say this is a great shot blaster, I've run every shot blaster on the planet somewhere along the way. And National's Apex Series shot blasters excite me because nobody gets excited about shot blasters. But I do, because surface preparation is so important. It makes or breaks guys if they want to do it right. But having the features and the benefits and the value prop behind that design can really make a difference. You know, I'll tell you guys a funny story. I've been married for 26 years in a row consecutively to the same woman. And I walk around doing this, looking at the floors everywhere I go. And she punches me in the arm and says, "Dave, quit looking at the floors. You look like you're depressed all the time. Look, there's a pretty girl and you missed it." Or a nice car. Because I'm super interested in what's going on in floors. I want to see whether guys have ground or shot blast, or if it's been done right. So if you guys are stepping up into the world of, we have questions.
With the A95,
Yes.
forward, and the
Yes.
A96 you operate backwards.
Correct. The A95 is a manual machine. So the A95 you're going to push in a forward direction. You really can't, what?
Repeat the question.
Oh, the question was, why does the A95 go forward? And why does the A96 operate backwards? Well, technically, the right way to shot blast is to walk backwards. But with a small manual machine, the shot's impacting and it's coming up the rebound the direction that you're going, which is forward. With the A96, because you're moving this way, the shot's hitting and rebounding back in. With the larger machines, you're typically stepping up into light commercial or industrial. So the thought process has always been it's better to walk on dirty concrete rather than to walk on the clean concrete that you just prepped. But because the A95 is designed for small, tight areas, first of all, you're going to end up walking on it anyway because it's designed for, narrow hallways, small bathrooms, areas that you can't get the bigger machines in. But that's why it's a forward machine, why it walks forward, and it doesn't really operate very well backwards. You probably could go 2 or 3 feet, but if you try to operate it backwards for 10 feet, it would end up losing the shot. It'd just dump it on the ground. You'd have to reload it. So the correct direction for the A95 is walking forward. And typically in the blasting world, this is actually forward for a shot blaster, even though you're walking backwards. I hope that answers the questions. Great questions. Keep the questions coming. I love it. All right, back to my exciting A98. I actually printed out a cheat sheet because this thing has so many features and benefits, and I get so excited, and it's great to stand in front of the camera. And I've been doing this a long time. Claude Basson and Nick and Tuan, these are all my colleagues, but they're also my friends. So I feel really honored to have the opportunity to talk to their customers all the way from across the sea in America. So I'm super excited about this product. This product is really designed for you guys. It's designed for your market. Everything about this is a beautiful engineering design for you guys. So I'm just going to start at the top, and we're going to talk about some of the features and benefits and how you can hit some of that ROI for a machine this big. Oh, another question. Great.
How do I alter the blast path
On the A98? Okay, so actually that's a great question, and the question is how do you adjust the blast pattern from left to right to center? So you guys keep in mind that shot blasters have a centrifugal blast wheel, which is best explained to somebody that doesn't understand that it has a boat prop. So, hey, Kevin, in the background behind me, all of the marketing team supporting and helping me, the real brains behind the operation. Could somebody give me a blast wheel and a control cage off the shelf in the back? I think a visual explanation of that would be a little bit better, so I've asked for a little prop assistance. But let's talk about this machine. 30 millimeter blast pattern, 12 kilo blast motor. The drag seal on the back is a 3-piece, so you can just replace the urethane instead of the entire seal, which is a real cost savers to the historical design of drag seals. The blast wheel in this machine actually features replaceable blades instead of having to replace the whole blast wheel. Let's go back to this question. This is perfect. So this is not the blast wheel that is in the A98. It's similar, but because this has replaceable blades, the A95 and the A96 actually have a closed face blast wheel that looks similar to this. This is larger, but I'm bringing this to you so you guys can see and I can answer that question. So your blast wheel is spinning inside the machine, and this is called your control cage. It does not move. It is stationary. So it has a window in it with a leading edge and a trailing edge. And what happens is when you open your one barrel shot valve, the shot feed falls down the feed spout, falls into here. This part of the blast wheel is actually called the impellers. It's basically like a blender. It stirs the shot up and it throws it out this little doorway or this little window. And where that window is positioned determines where the shot is actually hitting on the surface. So that means on the A96, if it's blasting heavy, let's just pull this up here. If I'm blasting this way and it's blasting heavy on my left foot as I'm walking backwards, I'm going to adjust that control cage toward my left foot or counterclockwise. If it's blasting heavy on my right foot, I'm going to take that control cage and loosen it up. It's just held in place by 2 clamps. I'm going to adjust it clockwise or toward my right foot. That'll actually even out the pattern. When you get your new blaster, it's tested and it should be perfectly even. But we already talked a little bit about smaller shot and larger shot. Smaller shot's lighter. So as it feeds through and gets blendered or the impellers throw it out that window, it actually hits on the blades in a different place so it can adjust your blast pattern. Bigger shot, it could actually go the other way. So if you're a seasoned contractor and you're using different size shots for different profiles that you're looking for or different CSPs, you might have the need to adjust that. The other reason why you might need to adjust your control cage or your pattern is when you're blasting along and you're blasting up joints. We talked about what's in joints. There's cotter pins, screws, pieces of wire from electricians when the building was built. Because the blast wheel is moving and the control cage is stationary, if that little nail happens to get through the screen in the shot valve, it actually can allow that control cage to turn a little bit as it shears. So I'll get a phone call, hey Dave, my machine was blasting a perfect pattern, now it's blasting just 1 inch on one side. Because when it sheared, the clamps on the control cage weren't super tight, so it allowed it to turn just a little bit. So it's a real simple, loosen it up and adjust it. So we've talked about Twan, Nick, and Claude. They're your country support mechanisms for National in Europe. But I want to promise you guys that if you want more technical training on shot blasters, or if you purchase something from National, we can set up a virtual maintenance training or operations training. I can teach you guys tons of tricks of the trade. And my phone, and I know that it's a long distance, overseas call, but you can WhatsApp at me, you can FaceTime me or call me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas, it doesn't matter if it's Easter, it doesn't matter if it's summer holiday. You guys can reach out to me. My phone is never, ever turned off. In the past, the only time you couldn't get a hold of me was if I was on an airplane. Shocker to the world. I have not been on an airplane all year, so I'm super easy to get a hold of nowadays. There's never any time that you can't reach out to me. If I'm doing a video, my phone's in the background, it's on silent, but I will call you right back. Just leave a short message and I'll reach out to you. But any additional, so we're hitting all the high spots. We're talking about what's exciting and what's new. But if you guys are in the market to buy some equipment, but you want to understand it at a greater detail, I'm available for that. We can schedule that and set it up. Matter of fact, I think that's what I'm doing all next week is FaceTime, camera time with customers on different pieces of equipment to help them get going and get ahead of the game before they get on their first job. Let's get back to the A98 and keep the questions coming. These are fantastic questions, you guys. We talked about this being, we talked about it having replaceable blades, which the benefit to that is your blast wheel blades last 5 to 7 K square meters, and the main body of the blast wheel lasts about 1,000 hours. There is an hour meter on your LCD display, so you can keep track of when you need to inspect your parts. And you replace the impeller, that's the blender that we were talking about that's inside. You replace that every other blade change. Why are we talking about this? Because with these bigger machines, you're getting a lot more production, but you also get a lot more wear. So the ability to just change your blades instead of the entire blast wheel helps you cut down on your cost, on your square footage per cost, which for you guys, that means more money in your pocket. If we just take a big blast wheel like you see in some of these other machines on the market, every time it wears out, you have to replace the entire thing, which increases your cost. This is designed so it'll keep your cost down, and I personally think it's a lot easier to change the blades than it is the whole blast wheel. It's a lot quicker. I can do it in a lot less time, so that means less downtime. So you're getting through your job faster and less labor. It's got a cord management system that allows your hose and cord to move out of the way. It's a little on the technical side, but your main blast wheel bearing, there's a ton of machines on the market that main blast wheel bearing is fixed to the housing. And let me tell you guys, if you run this machine for an hour, you stick your hand down in that steel shot in the hopper, you will quickly remove it because it is hotter than a supermodel. That also allows the machine to kind of tweak over time because it gets hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. Well, that can adjust, that can make the blast wheel sit in a different spot over the years. Rather than having to replace an entire section of the machine, which is very expensive, I can loosen up that blast wheel and move shims in or add shims to make an adjustment. These seem like minute things, but if someone told you in 10 years, well, you got to spend 10 grand, or, oh, you just have to take a couple shims out, you're going to be pretty happy to find out that somebody's engineered that on the front side and just saved you a ton of money. Phase rotation indicator light, so it tells you if the blast wheel's spinning in the right direction. What was that, Nick? Oh, I thought they were waving at me in the background. Trying to go down my list so I don't miss anything. The machine has transport mode, so you've got a big bar that lifts it up, so it'll clear if you're taking it in and out of a trailer or in and out of a job site with transitions. You can actually lift the machine up, and then when you go to operate it, you can set it back down flat. It's got great tie down points right on the machine for transport. It's got easy shot valve amp adjustments, right easy to access. See what else, I'm trying not to miss anything. The rebound plenum is 2 millimeters thicker than any of the competitions. This is such a big hard hitting machine, we've over designed it. Integrated brake system. This is something I know a little bit about that excites me. This is a brand new, super popular. What happens if you leave your shot blaster on a hill? Well, the other models on the market, they have an integrated brake system that every time you let go of the drive mechanism, it puts the brakes on. Well, the problem with that is it causes premature wear and they wear out really quick. This has a bubble sensor, so when it's not on a flat surface, whether the power's on or off, it locks it in place so it won't move. That's pretty cool. I've replaced a lot of drive systems in my years on other models of machines, and I think this has cured that problem. What else can we hit? Let's hit all the electrical parts are UL, and all electrical components are Eaton. That's a global company, so you guys won't have any problems if you ever need to open the box and replace a contactor or a fuse or something. This machine has a 7-inch LCD display right here, and it has a brightness sensor, so if I'm blasted and there's a little light on the job site, I'm gonna have no problem seeing it. But if I take it outside to do bridge or highway or airport or parking deck, it'll go super bright. And what I really like about this is a shot blaster that has moved us into the technology side of the surface prep business that you don't typically see. Normally you just see a machine that you just turn on and run. This has remote software updates for the control system. The operating manual and safety manual can be uploaded into the display. Spare parts, part numbers and drawings can be uploaded into the display. Obviously you can see the amp draw on it. You have the option to add a SIM card, and that feature will allow the machine operator to order parts directly from the display. Programmable for any language. It's just software. So I'm glad I read the list because I might leave something off. I've actually run this machine, know how to run it. I know about all the features, but there's tons of things that aren't on my list, such as your height adjustable handle. It just goes on and on and on. But really, to sum it all up, this shot blaster is designed for high production and as low a cost per square foot operation because of all the design features that you're going to find in a shot blaster. If that doesn't excite you guys, it does me. And if that doesn't excite you, let's talk about cars later. Any questions before I wrap up the session? There's a little bit of lag, so we'll give it a couple minutes.
Can you just talk about the differences between changing the blast wheel on the A95 and the A98?
Sure. So for the A95, the question was, what's the difference between changing the blast wheel in an A95 and changing the blades in an A98? Because this is a pretty small machine, a couple of us could lift it up, put it on a table, or I could get on my hands and knees on the ground. It's pretty easy to change this. Obviously the power's on and I don't have any tools. First, make sure the power's disconnected. Normally I try to work from this side because the shot valve isn't here. I'm gonna loosen up these nuts that hold the control cage clamps that we were talking about. And I'm gonna pull this rubber feed spout out. You just grab it and pull it out. And then I'm gonna remove these 4 bolts and remove this plate. Once I've done that, I can actually see the blast wheel. I'm gonna get me a 3/8 drive and a bolt or a Allen socket. And I normally tip it back on the handle and I stick a piece of wood up inside so the blast wheel's not turning. And you're just gonna loosen a fixing bolt, and then the blast wheel comes right off of the hub. And I'm gonna take it out, throw it away. I'm gonna put a new blast wheel in. I'm gonna set my control cage with my window between 8 and 10, or 8:30 and 10:30 on the clock face if you were looking at it this way. Put my plate back on, put my control cage back on, my clamps, just fit your rubber feed spout up in there. And I'm talking through this pretty quick. I imagine I could change a blast wheel in this machine, and I do have a lot of experience, but if I wasn't being timed for money, if I was just on a job site and I was a regular everyday guy, I could change the blast wheel in probably 10 minutes. It's super easy, especially if you've done it one time. It's super easy to change. The blast wheel has 2 holes in the back, and the hub has 2 pins. You just have to make sure that those line up so it locks into place, and then just go to reassembling it the same way you took it out. So that you have to replace the blast wheel, the control cage, and the hardware comes in a kit. With the A98 to change, you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna take out the feed spout, you're gonna remove the control cage, you're gonna take this plate off with those bolts, and you're gonna take your locking blades out, pitch them pop your new locking ones in there. Same thing, you're gonna put your plate back on, set your control cage, put your clamps on it, fit your rubber feed spout back up in there, and you're gonna go back to work. I think this is a little bit easier because it's bigger. It's a little bit harder with the A95. You've got to get up in a smaller, tighter area. And obviously I always work from the side where there isn't the shot valve cable. There's more access on the other side. But because it's a bigger machine, I think it's easier to change the blade just because there's a lot more room to work. Any more questions? We're just waiting for the lag to make sure there's no more questions. Super appreciate you guys joining in. And I'm sorry that I can't see Twan, Nick, and Claude, but hello, gentlemen. I miss you guys a lot. I hope that the world goes back to normal so we can go back and forth across the pond and spend time together with you guys and your customers. I'm stalling, hoping that some questions come in because of the lag, and then I think Jake's going to step in with a parting word for us. Congressman Jake.
Thank you, Dave. That was really informative. Every time you talk, I learn something, I'll tell you that much. But so thanks again, everybody, for joining. My mic is off, apparently, so we got to fix that. There we go. And move over. All right, perfect. So again, thank you, Dave. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We're going to jump into an informal panel discussion. So really, this is opportunity for people to ask questions of me, of Dave, of Connie, our Vice President of Marketing, obviously of our team in Europe, and then maybe share some ideas amongst yourselves as well. So personally, I've helped provide surface prep equipment solutions in over 80 countries. If you're curious about what's going on in other markets outside of Europe, feel free to ask. Would love to share ideas. So for right now, we'll open it up. Connie's going to join us here in a second, and happy to talk about any discussion topics the team sees fit. So please. Everybody here is Connie Hardy, our VP of Marketing. I'll let her introduce herself a bit more.
Hi, guys. I'm super sad I won't see you all at trade shows this year. No Domatex, no UK Hire. Everything is postponed. So this was our attempt to connect with all of you and talk about product development and any questions you might have for us in advance of 2021. So let us know if there's anything that we can answer for you or discuss.
Sure. And if we don't have discussion topics or points for today from the group, we'll...
The first one is what's expected next in the next few years?
Oh, great question. Expected from a product development standpoint, I assume? Okay, that's great. Great question. You want to jump into that, or you want me to take it?
Sure. Product development at National. So we're very proud of the fact that we were able to, in partnership with Highways England, bring the Viking to the market this year. That launched in England. I'm sure you've all seen the press around that a few months ago, about a month ago, and that was largely, there was a whole team behind it, but Nick White was really critical in the success of that product. So we're very excited about that one. We have some new tooling that came out this year as well, guillotine tooling. It's a flat blade that has a setback angle on one end. So you'll see we have 4 different part numbers currently available, 2 primary sizes, and then 2 different widths of that blade. Later in 2021, we will have additional sizes and some self-scoring wings with that as well. What else do we have coming up? Oh, our next generation WalkBehind. Mm-hmm. We were very hopeful that we could launch that this year, this coming year at the World of Concrete, at our January, February trade shows. We are working hard on that. Unfortunately, the situation with COVID and
It hasn't
the
done anybody
global
any
shutdown
favors,
really just slowed that development for us. So we have several prototypes, including one that's ready for Europe, and in the next couple of months we will bring more detail and clarity around an exact launch date. So stay tuned for that. That's still moving forward. We're very excited about what we're going to be able to bring to the market with that.
We're also in discovery phase. I can't say too much because it's still discovery phase. Discovery phase of another one of our core products that
Yep.
we've provided all over the world with great success. That's coming as well. No time frame yet, just because we're in discovery phase,
Yep.
but it's coming. So be excited. We certainly are. Great question, Tuan. Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
The question we got from you, what's the expected weight of the next walk-behind?
The weight?
Great question, Luke. Give a range, right? Between Luke's asking the weight of the next walk behind. I'm trying to figure out how much information we could really divulge. Not that I don't trust anybody on the call, but
Let's put it this way. This is the very first core product that we have developed where we were very careful to take into account everything that the global market would need. We understand that you guys need a lighter weight machine and something more versatile.
yeah.
Because we are still in that initial prototyping phase, because development slowed down a bit this year, we don't have a final for you yet. So let me answer it that way, and know that in the next couple of months we can be much more specific about that. Guillotine blades.
Everybody see that? Oh, this way.
Several different part numbers. Primary advantage to this blade is that now you can come at the work from a direct head-on angle, as opposed to having to come at it like this. You can come straight into it because your leading edge of your blade is going to catch under the material and lift as you go. It's kind of difficult to see because we're both
There you
wearing
go. You got it?
dark clothes. But guillotine blades, these are available. Your European sales team can answer more questions about these, and the self-scoring versions that will be available in the coming months. Thank you, Nick.
I got rid of it. It's over there. Thanks, Luke. Great question. We're excited about the new walk behind for sure.
Yeah.
The industry's never seen anything like it, and this resets the way people think about walk behind scrapers, and that's really all I can say. It's amazing. Nothing else? Going once. Going twice. All right. Well, thanks everybody again for joining. Really appreciate your partnership. Look forward to seeing you all again. You know, Connie mentioned we won't see you at trade shows, and I took a peek at the list of people on the call today, and I got to say, I miss a lot of you. I really do. I miss seeing you, and look forward to when COVID is behind us, we can all get together again in the same room. So thanks again, everybody. And we do have another question.
Is there a solution for removing glue off
Computer
computer floors?
floors.
So maybe like a data center?
Data center floors are typically, the question is there a solution for removing glue off of a data center floor? So I'd have to think about that for a minute, because I'm picturing a data center floor, and it's usually porous because they have air circulation, thank you, going through. So it's really, that's a pretty soft floor. It wouldn't take much weight on top of it with a walk behind or a rider.
The floor
That'd be tough.
would be engineered also in a way that you wouldn't want any damage to it. So you would want to make sure that if you used a
Right.
scraper, that you had the
I
proper
don't have an
bevel
answer to
on the
that
tooling.
one. Tom, Dave, do you guys? I don't have an answer. I'm thinking of those floors. I've been in a lot of data centers, and with the circulation, the floors just don't seem like they would hold the weight. Maybe I'm wrong.
Start filling in that
Yeah.
porous, that's what you need.
So follow-up question. Do you mean the glue You mean the glue on the cement slabs that hold the telecom equipment, or the actual floor that you walk on? Because then that's two different things.
They say, I think it's about raised floors, like
Technical raised floor environment, so it depends on what the weight rating of that floor is. You got to check that and be really, really careful before you bring in any one of our machines. And then obviously you marry whatever that floor is rated to one of the scraper solutions. But be very careful with that. Yeah. And you can use, as Dave mentioned, use razor blades to take the glue off, which is the... Yep. Yep.
Okay.
changing subjects. Is there any plans for a bigger blaster?
A bigger blaster. Yeah, right now we're concentrating on core products, but we're always open to new ideas, honestly.
Yeah.
We've come out with a few blaster options. We're looking at bigger ones, but as we brought some newer, quote-unquote, smaller machines to market, the first step is really getting feedback from the customers, and if there is demand for a larger machine from us, we would love to provide it and would love to develop it. But as it stands right now, we're concentrating on 2 new core products to release shortly, but we're always open to feedback and to starting new development projects. We want to provide you with what you need. So if there is a need for it, let us know. Great question. No? Perfect. Thanks again, everybody. If there are any further questions, obviously you can contact Twan, Nick, Claude after the session, and this will also be available on YouTube at some point.
Yes, all of these sessions will be live on YouTube next week. As well, our new catalog for 2021 will be released in all languages in January, and English will be available next week. So
Awesome.
keep an eye out for that, and let us know how else we can support you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. Appreciate you all.